us. My name is Sharon Parento, and it's my pleasure to have you with us tonight as we embark on a journey together towards. Okay, so let's get started. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sharon Parento, and it is a joy to have you with us as we journey together towards a lighter, brighter, decluttered future. So let's get started. Here's the order of events for this evening. I want to welcome each and every one of you, share a little bit about how I've come to help people just like yourself get properties decluttered for sale. But regardless of where you are on the real estate journey, I welcome you this evening and hope that what you're going to learn tonight will be something you can apply in your home right from the get-go. Okay, so there we go. The high cost of clutter will be our second topic, and also to deal with the clutter busting strategies for successful home sales. So thank you for that. And then I want to encourage you to stay tuned right to the very end, because we're going to share with you some amazing offers that are going to help you take action steps even tonight, even tomorrow, starting right away while your motivation is strong. So there I am. My name is Sharon Parento, as I said, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. And when we began working with downsizing clients in the Greater Toronto area, we noticed that many of them had the same and recurring questions that were based in their challenge related to getting rid of their surplus stuff. And as we talked with them, we realized that they were really held back from pursuing a life of freedom in so many different ways. And we developed this as an educational program to give out to the community as a way of giving back. So we've been doing these in person, and with COVID, of course, we had to switch everything to being online and presenting this information to dozens of people who we've helped to get decluttered and into a better frame of mind in their physical environment and in their mindset. So that's a tremendous blessing, and we're grateful to have had any role in that. So let's go on. When I'm talking with people who've been in their homes 20, 30, 40 years or more, oftentimes they share with me that they would love to downsize, but the amount of stuff they have is really arduous for them. So they look at the physical work and they think it's going to be very daunting, or the emotional upheaval caused by sorting through items or having to give things away or get rid of them. And so they just essentially procrastinate. They push the decision off to the future and they say, well, I'll deal with it someday. And someday never happens. And so over time, more and more stuff accumulates. It never seems to evaporate over time. It only seems to accumulate. And eventually it becomes overwhelming to them. So we have developed this as a way of helping to get those people free. And if you're here tonight, then it's likely you recognize that you have too much stuff, that it's a problem now, or it's going to be a problem in the future. So first, let me congratulate you on making the decision to attend tonight. This is awesome. And I think that that is a great first step. And we're going to take you through the other 5 steps of decluttering after that initial decision making. So kudos to you to being here. But if we're calling clutter our enemy, what does that enemy look like? What is that enemy's characteristics? And the more that we know about the impact that clutter is having, the more motivation and inspiration we're going to feel to deal with it as a problem. So your home is intended to be a sanctuary, not a storage unit. And we sent out a newsletter a couple months ago saying, are you living in a 4-bedroom storage unit? And that's so true. And we're going to get to the actual financial costs that implies in a moment. But let's talk about some of the less tangible or less quantitative things that clutter can do for your life in a harmful way. Things like impacting your social life. I can't tell you how many people I go to their home and the first thing they say to me is, oh, I'm sorry about the clutter, or excuse the mess, or whatever it is. So if you are finding that as we're opening up in COVID and the opportunities for hospitality present themselves, but you are reluctant because you're embarrassed by the amount of stuff, then that is a very high price to pay. We don't need more isolation in our lives. Now, what about if it's just your peace of mind? That as you're looking around, you feel anxious because of your environment. That's a big deal. COVID has taught us that peace of mind trumps all considerations of stuff. The stuff is not going to keep you happy. We also think about just some of the incidental costs of clutter by sometimes having to buy replacements for things we know darn well we've got somewhere, we just can't find them. So we go off to the dollar store and buy a second or a third. So that can have some big financial costs, or even things like having to pay late fees or interest charges because you can't find the bills. And this can be really something easily dealt with, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some specific concrete steps we're going to share with you. Now, this to me is the interesting one too, is that we are living in space that at least part of it is devoted to just keeping our stuff. How much of your home do you actually use on a daily basis? I work with many clients who live 80% of the time in 20% of the house. Well, what is the other devoted to? Storage. So you add up utilities, taxes, the cost of maintenance, all of that. It's a very high price to pay for living in a cluttered environment. So we want to make sure that we are getting you the best bang for the buck in your life, and that starts with decluttering. How many of you can relate to this? I need another book on decluttering. I lost the other 2 I borrowed. The aggravation of not being able to locate things, having to buy replacements, all of that can be taken care of by decluttering. As I mentioned, the financial impact of clutter is something we don't often account for. The property value that we are sitting on, where we could otherwise access that equity and enjoy a much better quality of life, we now are devoting to things like our stuff. I've heard of people who actually park in their garage. So those things we want to extend to you as the benefits of dealing with this issue. I noticed too, and it's interesting in my line of work, that commercial real estate devoted to self-storage units is the biggest, fastest growing, and one of the most profitable segments of the real estate industry. Why? Because anytime we have a new community, we get a Starbucks, a Walmart, a nail salon, and a self-storage unit. And that just speaks to the thousands of people like you, like me, who have too much stuff. And they actually have to go rent additional space. They don't have a space problem, they have a stuff problem. And we're going to get to the heart of that today and help you get free from that. So I love this last line. Are you getting more out of your possessions than it takes to maintain them? I'm going to argue humbly, no, that you are paying way too much to maintain them for very little benefit, if any. Okay, so why do we have clutter? Well, I think this conflict resonates with each of us. I want to live a minimalist life with little to no clutter, but also me. I'm keeping this math assignment from fifth grade. I might need it later. Yeah, so we all have this tension between keeping and purging, getting rid of and hoarding. And all of us have this as something we can relate to. But what is actually causing the blockage? Let's just drill down a little bit. Why haven't you decluttered up until now? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that there are some known answers that I run across all the time. And maybe this is going to relate to your situation. Number one, you might feel guilty. You might think that by giving away that furniture that you were bequeathed or inherited that you don't actually like, but you don't want to get rid of it because you are going to feel like you're being disrespectful or dishonoring of that memory. I really want to encourage you to make a decision item by item based on its actual value to your life now. That's what matters. Is it adding to your life now or subtracting from it? And related to this is sentimental attachment. We don't want to get rid of things because they make us feel nostalgic. They take us back to that era and we have such happy memories and we want to keep it. But what good is that thing actually doing for your future? And I'm not going to be hard-nosed about this. I'm not going to suggest that you have to get rid of all of your sentimental items. Far be it for me to say that to you. I have my own sentimental stuff. I had boxes of my children's schoolwork that I kept because it made me so happy to keep it and as a memento for them. Maybe they'd want to look back at it years later. But the truth is, those things are not even being looked at in boxes in the basement. I'm not accessing those. I might as well take a picture of them on my phone or allocate a certain amount of space, one box per kid of the best things from their school years, and get rid of the old moldering macaroni art and just keep the best, take a photograph of the rest and let it go. I just don't want you to feel like you can't keep any of your favorite things. That's really not the intention here, but just to limit it. Set a limit. How much space on the shelf, how much space in the basement in boxes, how many items are you going to keep? Now, this is a huge topic for people. They come to me and they say, well, I might need this someday. I have to keep that because I might need it someday. Well, number one, you probably won't need it someday. That's the truth. If it's been there and it's been unused, then you haven't needed it up till now. You probably won't need it again in the future. So my recommendation is to set a time limit, an expiry date. What do I mean by that? Well, if you haven't used it by the end of the summer and it's summer related, out it goes. If you are changing over your closets and you didn't wear that anytime during the winter, out it goes. So setting a time limit and say, okay, if I don't need it, then I'm going to get rid of it. And then also to have comfort in the fact that you can actually replace it if you did need it. Here's the key question as you decide what to keep and what to get rid of. If you lost it, would you repurchase it? Would you spend money on it again? And if the answer is no, and likely it is, then you can give it away to somebody who actually needs it and who will benefit by it and not have any guilt or feelings that you're wasting money. Now, what about this? Very related to much of what I see with my downsizing clients is that you spent good money on it. Like brown furniture. We have so much surplus in our homes and we don't live the same way that we used to. We often don't have the big family gatherings. But if we did, we'd probably happily crowd around the kitchen table rather than devoting an entire room to family gatherings that we don't actually have very much anymore. Maybe it's time for the kids to host. But regardless, the brown furniture surplus that we're seeing in thrift stores and on sale sites, it's because people are recognizing that they don't have the space or the inclination to use them anymore. And I can relate to this. We scrimped and saved for our first dining room set. It was Duncan Fife style cherry mahogany look. Everybody knows the 1990s, right? So we used it. We enjoyed it. We had our holidays, celebrations, we had family gatherings, but now it can be let go, knowing that, number one, I don't like that style of furniture anymore. My own tastes have changed. I don't have the space for it, and it owes me nothing. It's like a car that's got 200,000 kilometers on it. It owes you nothing. You've used it, you've enjoyed it, and it doesn't have a place in your future that you are architecting for yourself. So why not let it go to somebody who actually will enjoy it and use it? So you can see that lots of what's actually holding us back is emotional connection to the stuff that we need to get rid of. We know we need to. So by taking those emotions and countering them with rational facts about it and giving you a plan, we're going to help you get free of the surplus without having all those negative ties that bind. So to continue, some of the blockages that I hear from my clients are that you have expensive things. You have things that give you great pleasure to have you around. You like seeing pretty things. Well, keep some of the pretty things, but you don't need endless collections of pretty things. Keep the best for yourself, and maybe it's time to sell the rest. And I'm going to suggest that we have to get a little bit uncomfortable temporarily in the short term to realize the long-term gain. So we've gotten it all backwards. We've collected things and it has blocked our future, but we want to get to the point where, whether we think it's an investment or not, we're investing in our peace of mind and creating sanctuary in our homes. So some people do genuinely have valuable items, and I'm going to refer you to places where you can go get them evaluated, because God forbid anything should happen to you and your state has to deal with it. They're not going to know what they're dealing with. You're the expert. Why not sell it now while you can see the profit, appreciate the money, and use it for your own enjoyment? So there's not very much around lately that is valuable, but we will deal with this next week when we get to a list of items that can be sold for profit. So this is the last reason, in air quotes, that I hear all the time about why people are keeping things they don't use anymore. They're saving it for family. Well, I have 3 follow-up questions. Number 1, do they know? Number 2, do they even want it? And number 3, when are they coming back for it? So you've got your son's hockey equipment in the basement, and we need a plan to get that out. You are keeping your china for your daughter. Does she know? Does she want it? And when can she take it off your hands? That is what I hear all the time, people holding on to things. I've done it and said it myself, so I know of what I speak, and the kids don't want it. So whatever reason that you are holding yourself back from, let's just step outside the situation and say, what would you say to a very good friend who was in this same situation? If you had a friend who gave you an excuse about decluttering, what would you tell her? In love, in kindness, but in firmness, to overcome that blockage. Because if we're talking about clutter as an enemy, the enemy has erected some bad propaganda. So we want to pull that down and get going on creating a new and better, lighter, brighter future. So here's your time to evaluate. What have you been telling yourself about the things that you own? And then what can you counter that with as a way of helping yourself to understand that these things are not doing you any favors? I remember hearing Joan Rivers say once, and she's not the fount of wisdom for sure, but this really resonated. She said I heard her say, don't love anything that won't love you back. And that is so true. So let's get us going on understanding that maybe Cheryl doesn't want it, right? One day, Cheryl, all this will be yours. Number one, does she know? Number two, does she want it? Number three, when is she coming for it? Okay. So if you take nothing other than this conversation to be had with Cheryl or whoever it is, will you please just promise yourself that you will have the conversation with them and ask them what they want of the things that you don't use or want anymore? Better for them to have it now when you can see the benefit and they can have the enjoyment of it. So how are we going to get past this? Well, here's one strategy. You know what I really want for our 25th anniversary, Harold? A dumpster. Yes. Wouldn't that be a great strategy? You just get the dumpster up the driveway and start chucking things into it. And I think that would be very, very satisfying. But maybe not entirely practical, because there are things that have value and we don't want to fill the landfills. We want to be able to bless other people with our surplus. So maybe this isn't the best strategy, but it does have its appeal, I have to acknowledge. Here's another. I love this. This is a great decluttering, best decluttering tip ever. My husband and I play a game. Whenever we go over to someone's house, we bring something we have decluttered and secretly hide it in their house in plain sight, somewhere that it makes sense for it to be. Books on the bookshelf, mugs in the cupboard, etc. We've gotten rid of so much stuff and only one person ever noticed. Our families are nowhere near minimalists. We are easily entertained. So maybe that's it. As we start opening up life again and going to visit with people, maybe we could just leave a few things behind, right? Like a reverse loot bag. I think this is a great idea. But again, there's only so much you can do before people stop inviting you over if they don't want your stuff. So what are we going to do? We know the problem. We know the enemy. We've understood some of what's holding us back. So let's get started on defeating this, shall we? Number one, we're using this metaphor of doing battle. That's why I'm wearing my army green jacket here today, because I really want to nail home that this is a battle for all the things that we talked about. The rewards are very great. The cost is very high. So what are we going to do? Well, number one, we are going to start with a plan. And the plan is going to be by putting it on the calendar. We're going to start strong with our resolve. We're going to circle D-Day on the calendar, and that's going to stand for decluttering, obviously. And between now and D-Day, we've got a little bit of preparation to do, because no army ever just marches into battle without a plan, a battle plan. Number one, we're going to give notice. What does that mean? Well, I mean to the people around you who are going to be affected by this, your spouse, maybe it is a friend that you want to come alongside you and you're going to battle together. Whoever has to be on side with you and might help to keep you accountable. These are the people you want to let know of your intentions so that they'll buy into the plan and become an ally in this process. This also includes telling the people who are using your house as free storage that their lease is up and they need to come and get their stuff or give you permission to dispose of it. All of the leftovers when kids leave home and leave some stuff behind, those are the things that you can request, require, demand that they come and take care of. So to support you in wanting to declutter. Maybe it's a simple conversation like, well, your dad and I are getting to the point where we might want to sell in the next year or two, and we really have too much stuff in our house. We know that, we recognize that, and we'd like you to come and get the things that belong to you, or give us permission and we'll donate them to a worthy cause. Sometimes we also want to make sure that our spouse is on side with us, and that can be a more difficult conversation. But I notice that when everybody sees your resolve, they respond to it and they fall in line, hopefully. So the other thing we want to do is gather up our supplies. Now, these are going to be our weapons in our battle against clutter. So things like contractor garbage bags, the big thick ones that don't get punctured, and you can put the scraps of lumber and all kinds of junk in them that is actually trash. We're also going to have clear bins with lids on them, so as you pick something up, you have a place to put it if you are intending to keep it. And then also boxes that can be donated or disposed of or sent to recycling. So we have an entire list in our Decluttering Battle Plan booklet that you'll be receiving a copy of. So don't fret, but we are going to get our weapons ready. And then I want you to think of this victory that you're going to enjoy, whether that is the tangible reward of being able to downsize, or if it is just the peace of mind, which, as we have mentioned previously, is so key these days. So let's get going on this. Out of clutter, let's find simplicity. From discord, let's find harmony. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Well, we know how she must be feeling because we've all been there before. And we also know that if we were there, we could get rid of her stuff no problem, because her stuff doesn't have any hold over us, right? We can all just go in there and help her win this victory. That's why friends are sometimes a really great source of help and support. So we have gathered up our supplies. We've told everybody about our intention. We've marked it on the calendar. Maybe we've invited somebody along with us to help keep us accountable. Now, what do we do? Well, the next part of our battle plan is to take back the territory. I want you to think about chunking time and also chunking territory. I'll explain what each of those means. When we are taking back the territory that clutter has claimed in our homes, it's not a once and done. It's a kind of process that is closer to a marathon than a sprint. And so in order to do this, we're going to have to do dedicated effort over time to counteract the way that the clutter arrived in the first place, right? So by taking 25-minute segments of time, it's been proven by efficiency experts to be the sweet spot in terms of focus and productivity and efficiency. So we suggest that you follow the Pomodoro method of setting the little timer, the tomato timer, for 25 minutes and doing the task at hand. And over time, maybe it's 1 or 2 or 3 decluttering sessions a week, you are going to see phenomenal results. I use this technique all the time myself when there's something in my business or a chore that I'm procrastinating on. I set the timer on my clock for on my phone for 25 minutes, and it counteracts that procrastination, and it makes me get into the task, but it's not so arduous that I'm exhausted at the end of it. And that's the goal here, is that we're going to have to do this more than once. So by 25-minute sessions over time, we'll see the result. And then the territory, I want you to almost think of like a chessboard that's got the squares on it. We're going to stick on one square and we're going to work there until it's about 80% done and decluttered. We don't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection, but to get to 80% and then take on the next square and the next and the next. So what does that first square look like? Well, it's going to be the area in your home that needs it the most. You decide. Is it the basement? Is it the garage? Is it the craft room? Whatever it is, that is really the area that needs your attention the most. Why do we start there? Well, first of all, your motivation is high, you're inspired, you want to get going, so you might as well start where it needs it the most. And then you can move on to the areas that are a little less challenging. And you're going to see the reward in one, and it's going to feed into your inspiration to keep going in the other. So by chunking time and chunking territory, we gradually move back to a space that is light, bright, and decluttered. Not rocket science, not anything that hasn't been said before, but I hope hearing it here in this context will help you to get started. So sometimes, despite our best interests, our best efforts and intentions, we just don't have the wherewithal to get it done all by ourselves. So why not call in the reinforcements? Just to continue the metaphor, call in the reinforcements, bring in the troops. We need people in our lives helping us out, and so many of us have given into the lives of others. We've invested in others. Now it's time to ask for help. So ask for the help to lift boxes or take things to the e-waste depot, or just even get it to the end of the garage or wherever. Those people in your life would be glad to help you. Just for you to ask them is what they're waiting for. So we have some suggestions in our book that we'll send to you. But if you don't have people in your life that can help you, or you feel comfortable under the current circumstances with the COVID situation, well, did you know that there are a ton of companies that you can hire? So we say you can hire mercenaries. If there's nobody in your life to do it for you as a voluntold, then we can hire somebody and they will come in as professional organizers and make short work of your clutter issue. They do this every day. They're highly efficient. I've seen them personally do wonders in a 3-person crew in 6 hours. It's pretty amazing. So sometimes it's not that complicated. Maybe it's just hiring one of the young people in your life to help you run an online sale for things. This is a very economical option as well, where you just give them a cut of the deal and ask them to take your things and get them sold online. So all of these things are resources for you to help bolster you. You're not an army of one. There are people in your life and companies who will help you. Now, if you need some of our recommendations of companies you can use to help you in your professional, who are professional organizers who work with decluttering, with downsizing people, we have a list of those resources we'll be happy to send to you, okay? So we can take back the territory, and if we need some help, we're going to call in reinforcements or hire mercenaries. And then what's the next step? Well, it's about that picturing the positive outcome to keep motivated. This is the 4th step, but there is a 5th step we're going to share with you next week, and that is campaign divide and conquer. So this is where we're really going to drill down, take this strategy. Okay, now we are standing at the edge of the basement. What do we do now? And we're going to get into that with further detail next week. But right now, we just have to get committed, keep committed, and it starts with understanding that your future can be bigger than your past. Now, maybe not in terms of your home, your house, but in terms of your enjoyment of your house. We actually want you to have less stuff, but more happiness, more freedom, more peace of mind, more time, maybe even more money. So there's freedom to do things, and there's freedom from things. And I want you to think of all that you will be free from by decluttering your home. We were never meant to live a life accumulating stuff. We were meant to live simply, enjoying the experience of life, the people of life, and the journey of life, not the things of life. Oh my goodness. Does this resonate with anyone else besides me? You know, my millennial children, they've taught me a lot of lessons about not being hung up on stuff. They don't care about it as much as we do or have in the past. I think where they get things right is that it's about experiences. And I think as we open up from our COVID shutdown, more and more people are going to recognize that experiences and people and relationships are what really matters and not the stuff. So this is a great time for us to pause, and we're going to take some questions. You can find your way into the chat box and type those in if you have a specific request about a particular thing or a particular challenge that you're facing. We'd love to brainstorm with you and see if we can't help you with that, but also want to give you some action steps that you can apply right now this week, and that will be our decluttering challenge. It's a 30-day decluttering challenge that we want to share with you as a special offer to you to thank you for sticking to the end of our presentation today. And what this looks like, I'm going to show you. This is the tracking sheet. This is not the decluttering challenge, but it tells you the task for the day. And then we're going to be sending you an email. This is just the first little part of it, not the whole email. And it's going to tell you what your task is for the day, a 25-minute task that's going to help you get started. Now, it's not what we said about sticking in the basement until you're 80% done. But if you need a way of getting on track to decluttering, this is a proven method that's helped dozens of people get to a lighter, brighter, decluttered future. And we want that for you. It's free for you. We don't ask anything in return. We just want to help you with this. And you ask for it, we'll register you for it. And every day you'll get that email into your inbox. And now don't worry, I'm not going to come and check your homework. It's up to you. It's for your own benefit, and we encourage you to take advantage of this. You'll even see that there are reward days for you there. So that is something for you. Are there any questions that we can answer while we are together? If not now, you always can reach out to me. We have upcoming events in our series on downsizing, including our meeting coming up at the end of the month with an RBC financial advisor, Paul Staneveld, smart young man who helps people plan for their future financially. And I understand that your home is a big asset. So I'm going to come from the standpoint of being the realtor and what downsizing can look like from that standpoint. And he's going to help you to understand what you can do with your buckets of money after you do that. So you can sign up online, and we'll make sure that you get that link. Now, part 2 of our battle plan will be next Wednesday. As I mentioned, we'll drill down and we're going to actually start the idea in terms of applying what we've learned tonight. And then I also want to let you know about our townhouse virtual market tour again towards the end of the month. You can sign up online. And this is an interesting program. We used to go in person as a group to go visit condos in the GTA. So this is an offshoot of this program for condo apartments. I realize that not everyone is ready for a condo apartment. They would like an interim measure, so to speak. So as a transitional property between a detached home that's too big as an empty nester to a condo apartment, I think townhouses are such a great opportunity. And we're going to look at condo townhouses and freehold townhouses. So you can sign up for that as well. And we'll go on our little virtual tour, much in the same way as we've done tonight. So I hope you will join us for that. Any questions at all that I can answer before we say adieu tonight? Okay, so thank you for your time, your attention. It's been my great pleasure. We will reach out to you and send you a link for tonight's presentation so you can rewatch it. And then, I'm not sure why you would, but it'll be there. You'll have the slide presentation, and we'll make sure that if you want to sign up to any of these other things, we'll get that out to you as well. Okay. And in the meantime, we are all over social media. This is how you can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We are very active on social media. And then we also have our email there and my cell number that you can call or text with the additional questions that you might. So, anybody wish to unmute themselves and ask a question or type it into the text box? Now would be a great time. Okay. Well, that's it for tonight then. I thank you so much for joining me. As I said, I hope you have a very pleasant evening, and we will look forward to seeing you all next week. And may I just ask, if you have a friend or family member that you think would benefit by watching this next week as well, please reach out, let them know about it, help share the good news of a lighter, brighter, decluttered future. Thanks very much. My name is Sharon Parento, and it has been my pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you. Good night.